Of Bellicent and Lot their son was Gareth called, and such a one did grow to manhood in their court. Dreamed he of valor, fair and bold, in Arthur's hall, where it was told knights of Table Round did sport. Begged he their leave to venture there, but mother's loss was she to spare. She wagered his pride was too vast. In common toil would not last, never would he pledge his troth. But Gareth nodded his assent. Of his desire he'd not repent. His mother's terms would allow that in disguise should Gareth go, that he be noble none should know, so Gareth pledged her his vow. On foot in simple cloth went he to Camelot, and there to be a servant at the cook's fire. At feast of Pentecost he came, forbearing all to ask his name, to seek two boons of his sire. The first of them to grant that day that he a scullion knave should stay one day more than this 1 year. And then of Arthur he would speak a second boon, that he would speak, if then that day the king would hear. So toiled Gareth long and true, and weeks to months as seasons flew, time till Pentecost returned. When next morn dawned, there came a maid. Before the throne for help she bade, for a champion she yearned. To free her lands, a knight she sought. Would Arthur send her Lancelot to defeat the Knight of Red? Then forward Gareth strode to speak, though of the kitchens he did reek. To Arthur bowed his head. Sire, my year and a day have gone. My second boon is, send me yon, a champion for this dame. I would her quest to undertake, never flinch nor to forsake, and thus to earn my fame. With troubled eyes, Arthur's assent, that Gareth would indeed be sent to aid the fair Lynette. Her cries of protest Arthur stopped, until Gareth should be o'ertopped, his royal word was set. Tears of rage decked snow-white cheeks. For this, a knight who stank of leeks should mock her in her plight. Her raven hair she plaited tight, and tarried only that one night, ere loosing her shame in flight. At castle's moat there waited her a well-wrought knight who did not stir. His horse and trappings were true. But when her own mount drew him nigh, his visor raised, and her green eye spied the scullion's face anew. Begone, you fool who smells of smoke. Serve thy betters, those honest folk. Would that one of them would try. But Gareth sat his horse with pride, and said he would not turn aside. Where ridest thou, so ride I. So set forth Lynette upon the road. Never Gareth a glance bestowed. He followed where'er she led, until at dusk they came upon, bestride a wide and stately lawn, a fine and handsome tent. In this pavilion doth reside a knight most fierce. Pray turn aside, your death would please me not. Fair lady, I have pledged my word, unto your cause my arm and sword, though with peril it be fraught. Forth rode Gareth to havoc cry. A knight of purple stood hard by, their lances swiftly broken. On foot with blade the two men fought, by neither one was quarter sought, till at last yield was spoken. The purple knight, on bended knee, cried, I will do as asked of me, for fairly I am bested. To Arthur's court on your parole, and spare not telling every soul, by Gareth you were tested. The knight away to court did ride. Fair Lynette stood by Gareth's side, and thusly did she speak so. Methought that when your sword was free, less kitchen stink did come from thee. But clearly it returns, lo. Away with you, thou cleaver knight, for though you've managed here to fight, at this next test you shall die. But Gareth sat his horse with pride, and said he would not turn aside. Where ridest thou, so ride I. By morning's light the two beheld, amidst a clearing newly felled, a knight whose mail was azure. Right tall and broad the foeman stood, his laughter shook the very wood. "Come, lad, and test your measure." With sword and shield they met a field. Crash and blow would neither yield, the trees did ring with steel. Until at last the Azure Knight did kneel and crave to end the fight, and Gareth's mercy appeal. "Get thee gone to Camelot, villain. Raise thee thy weapon not again to any, save to protect. And speak the tale for all to hear. Before Gareth you knelt in fear, then shall you have my respect." Away he rode, and fair Lynette bespoke Gareth, "Methinkest yet the smell of cooking doth fade. But pray, bold man, now leave the quest. This final night is worst and best, of naught but evil is he made." And Gareth would here have said to she, that whither goest, so would he, when hoofbeats were heard hard by. A knight approached with covered shield, and called for Gareth there to yield, and Gareth answered, "Fie." With lance and shield they did contest, never a moment to breathe or rest, till Gareth knocked the knight free. Then sword to sword they battled hard, to and fro across the yard, till Gareth bent the knee. "I give my all, and am outdone. In yielding now to such a one as you, I see no shame. Before you speak my doom, I would know of you, if you be good, to speak unto me your name." Then doffed the knight his helm, and lo, brave Lancelot did stand there so, and smiled upon Lynette. "But 3 men living from my steed have seen me taken, rare indeed. None with sword have best me yet. From Camelot this day I went to seek the child of Bellicent and the king of Orkney, Lot. And here I find him, hale and sound, with his victories newly crowned. Surely all is not as we thought. A finer knight you could not ask to lend his honor to your task. One thing to do now is wise." He took his sword, and touched he then the shoulders of Gareth, and when was done, a knight did rise. Lynette, she looked upon her knight. In fear she thought upon the plight of Gareth, should he stay by her side to seek the Knight of Red. But Gareth kissed her hand and said, "Where ridest thou? So ride I." When next there came the break of day, the bones of those this fiend did slay were strewn about the rough plain. Called Gareth, "Villain, come ye out!" The rooks he riled with his shout, the sky turned grey with rain. And from a cave the Red Knight strode. No mount would bear his ghastly load, near 7 feet his height. His sword was long, his reach was vast, despite his bulk was lithe and fast. Gareth quailed before his might. They met with sparks on sodden ground, like falling rocks, the mighty sound of sword and of arm and mail. They sought the other in the mud of rain and earth, of flesh and blood. The mists wrapped them like a veil. A quarter hour saw their clash, and then within the mists a flash of steel. Lynette held her breath. From out the rain came Gareth, whole. Lynette's cry rang out like a toll of joy. She'd feared his death. His sword was rent, his shield in twain. The Red Knight would not rise again. Lynette's lands were free once more. "How comes the smell of leeks, lady? Is there aught else you'd ask of me?" A smile grim Gareth wore. "My lord, methinks thou smell as sweet as springtime's morning, and is meet that I should offer you praise. My father's lands you have returned, when I your aid did scorn and spurned your valor and your knightly ways. My lady, fain would I thee see, in shame your head have bowed to me, nor hide your face from the sky. I would you'd take me for your lord. My heart is thine, as is my sword. Where ridest thou? So ride I."